On this week's episode, I'm excited to have Carrie Schmidt on as a guest. Carrie is a certified life mastery consultant and CEO of Infinite Solutions. After achieving top-level leadership roles and a six-figure salary, this is everything she dedicated her effort toward in corporate America, Carrie still felt the longing for something greater. She embarked on a spiritual journey of personal discovery and development that led her to research the fundamentals of psychology, neuroscience, and quantum physics. Now a certified life mastery consultant, Carrie offers life coaching programs and business consulting services. Her vision is to reach, teach, and transform over 1 million lives globally by helping raise human consciousness. Introducing certified life mastery consultant and CEO of Infinite Solutions, Carrie Schmidt. Welcome back to the show, everyone. On today's episode, I'm excited to have Carrie Schmidt. She is the CEO of Infinite Solutions. Carrie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vijay. I'm excited to be here. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing so well. Great to see you. And for those of you who are just listening in, Carrie, can you talk about your background and enlighten us on what you do?
Yeah, so I am a certified life mastery consultant. So I help people connect to their power, overcome limiting beliefs, gain clarity on their purpose in life, gain the confidence to take action on their goals and dreams, and really co-create a life that they love living. I'm also an executive leadership consultant. So I do a lot of business consulting. My background is in manufacturing. So I kind of grew up in the manufacturing industry up in Pennsylvania. So I lived an hour north of Pittsburgh. The company that I was a part of was a unionized facility. So, steel workers, just kind of hardcore. That's where I grew up. So I'm a little bit different. And I can tell you more about that. But now I do consulting for different organizations, strategic planning. I'm a Six Sigma black belt, lean continuous improvement guru. I think that you can apply continuous improvement to every aspect of your life, not just in your business. And I am launching my first book called Behind the Screen on June 1st. And I'm so excited to share my stories and the truth with the world.
Wow. Well, congratulations on your first book. That is so exciting to hear. And
Thank you.
you said something that caught my attention immediately. Limiting beliefs. Let's talk a little bit more about that because, as podcast host, as an entrepreneur, and just talking with other entrepreneurs and people who aren't quite ready to take that step, I noticed limiting beliefs to be a common theme. So what are your thoughts on limiting beliefs? And let's talk about it. I'll let you lead this conversation.
Yeah, so we are all conditioned at a young age. I write about the power of our mind in chapter 2 of my book. I talk about the difference between your conscious and your subconscious mind. And what people don't realize is our subconscious mind operates our body 95% of the time, right? So I say we're just a bunch of supercomputers walking around on autopilot throughout our life. And, we're conditioned to think that maybe we can't become an entrepreneur, or I can't become a millionaire, or I can't find the love of my life, or whatever that limiting belief is for that person. I believe that we all have those because there's the difference between ego and spirit. And your egoic lens will tell you all the things, all the bad things about yourself, and it just keeps going in the back of your head. But what's really cool is when you finally realize that you can overcome those limiting beliefs, you can gain control over your mind, your thoughts, and your feelings, which will then affect your actions and or reactions. So most people react in the moment without consciously thinking about what they can actually do. So I've been applying kind of this system of transformation to my life for over 10 years. And I just decided that it was finally time to, speak up, rise up, and help other people connect to their power.
Wow, okay. That is so informative. So when you talk about people reacting to, I guess, these limiting beliefs, what are some actionable steps people can take to not react and be a little bit, I guess, better on that side?
Yeah. So in my book, I share a 7-step life timeline system of transformation. What's your life timeline, you ask? It's from birth until today. right? So over the course of how many years you've been on this planet, you have experienced situations, you have memories, you have these thoughts, belief systems that really shape your reality. Okay. And so what people don't understand is this supercomputer between our, in our head. Once you can realize the power of it, you can gain control over your mind. And there's a thing called the law of cause and effect. So your thoughts create your feelings, right? So the supercomputer in your brain sends electrical signals and it releases neurotransmitters and these chemicals and hormones into your body, which create your feelings. Feelings are simply emotions, right? Emotions are energy in motion because everything's energy. When you realize that, then you can gain more control and raise your level of consciousness, in my opinion. So your thoughts create your feelings create your actions, and your actions create your results. So if you don't like the results in your life, in your health and well-being, relationships, career, time and money freedom, what do you have to do? You got to go back and look at your way of thinking, right? The thoughts that go through your head on a daily basis. So people don't realize we have these unconscious behavior patterns or even self-sabotaging beliefs as adults. And so we think, oh, there's nothing I can do, but there is something you can do. And so when you realize that you can take control, then you can overcome being reactive. So let's put this into context, right? As a parent, okay, I have a 15-year-old son. He's now taller than me, bigger than me, and there's nothing I can really do other than maybe raise my voice at him to get him to listen to me. So I unconsciously yell at him in the moment of when he makes me upset, right? Well, that's a behavior pattern that I could override and probably make our relationship better. So that's one area. And when you do that, that is step one of my system, which is tag it. So you're going to tag any of your unconscious behavior patterns in the moment so that you can, step two is remember. Go back and remember the first time you were introduced to this way of thinking, type of behavior. Okay, I'll give you some more instances. So some people have anger issues, right? And instead of being able to control their emotions, they just react. There's another one. Some people are emotional eaters. Some people, get into drugs and alcohol, gambling addictions. There's all kinds of addictions, and there's all kinds of these kind of self-sabotaging patterns that affect our results in life today. So what you have to do is raise your level of awareness, your consciousness, so that you can identify that I have this pattern. And in the back of my mind and heart, I know that it's not serving me. So that's one, is tag it. Two, then you go back and remember. And then I have a 7-step system that I take people through to literally overcome their subconscious programming so that they can reprogram their mind and resonate in the energy of that which they want to attract into their life.
Well, that's amazing. You got me hooked already. So you gave us 2, but not all 7. So can I ask, what is step number 3?
Step number 3 is feel it. So we don't understand the power of our subconscious mind. So what we do, and this is where I'm an advocate for mental health and helping our youth kind of raise their level of consciousness, is understanding that back then, and usually it's between birth and 7 years old, kids are operating in a theta brainwave frequency, okay? And so what that means is the magic carpet to them is really a magic carpet. They haven't been conditioned to know anything else, okay? So they pick up, it's basically a download into their brain during this time. And they're not taught how to deal with these thoughts and feelings, right? So sometimes the feelings, the emotions that you might feel as a young child, teenager, young adult, you don't have the opportunity to process it the way that you should in the moment. And when you realize that everything's energy, you realize that that energy stays stuck with you. And it kind of is just a reminder that your subconscious, because its goal is to store and retrieve, right? It stored it back then. Now, every time you have an emotion that reflects that thing, it retrieves it for you again. But you don't realize that as an adult. You just keep playing this out unconsciously. And so we pass these faulty programs down. So I'll answer your question. Step 1, tag it. Step 2, remember it. Step 3 is to feel it. So you actually have to feel the emotion that you felt back then that's related to that memory. Okay. When you feel it, you can now, I have a coaching program that goes along with these steps to help people, because there's a lot of people that have experienced trauma in the past, and bringing up some of those emotions can open up a lot. I'll give you step 4. Okay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right. So once you feel it, then you have to flip it, because we are wired as human beings to always see the negative, right? We always remember the negative more than the positive. So what you have to do is flip your perspective. And the book's called Behind the Screen. So flip your screen, your lens of life, and look at that situation, look at that experience from a different perspective. Because I believe we go through seasons for a reason, okay? We might not know why, and it might not make sense to us ever, but I'm sure that there would be some way that you could find a silver lining or something good that could have come from that situation. And so then you process that too. All right. So those are the 4 of the 7 steps.
Okay, so I assume we have to read to get the other 3 steps, right?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. So, a question again, going back to let's talk about memes. It's kind of related to the same subject, but I've noticed on social media and just like on t-shirts, a lot of people have self-deprecating humor. And I get it, right? It's supposed to be funny and hey, you're not alone, that kind of thing. But how does that play a role in, I guess, mental health? Just by saying, oh, I'm a piece of shit, or something like that, kind of like as a joke. But people, do they start believing it, or how does this work?
I wouldn't agree with that, because what you say is what you embody. So if you say I'm an idiot, or if you say I'm stupid, or whatever you declare about yourself, you declare into the universe. So I think that might be an inner way to communicate this, right? So we struggle on the inside. So I might have these feelings that I'm a fucking idiot on the inside, and I might use humor to portray that to my external environment. However, to me, that would show me that you have some things that need to be processed inside, because what you should be saying is, I'm amazing, I'm beautiful, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I can do anything, right? And that goes back to those limiting beliefs that we talked about when we first started the conversation. So as far as mental health goes, I think humanity needs to wake up to the power that's breathing us, that's greater than any condition or circumstance.
Thank you for that. It's just like I'm kind of observing friends from college, right? Like we're all kind of in the same place, but then I started noticing immediately after graduating, they start saying little things like, "Oh, I don't think I can get this job," or "I don't think I can do the XYZ," and then they're kind of in the same place because of that, even though I was so confident they could have in that time.
And they could have. So your belief will kill anything in the universe. Your doubt. Okay, so if you don't think that you can't do something, you might as well chalk it up, because you won't do it. Because we have our own internal thermostat, if you will, right? So you think about, a heater or air conditioner, and you set your thermostat to 70 degrees. Well, when it gets to that level, it either kicks on or kicks off, right? It's the same thing with our internal kind of expectations, is if we don't think we can do something, we're not going to take the action. We're not going to make that phone call. We're not going to walk up to that person and say, hey, how are you? And make those connections, because the universe is infinitely intelligent and always expanding. The way we contract is when we allow our egoic lens, the mindset of the ego, to win over our spiritual side.
Got it. Okay. So, kind of talking more about this, how does ego play a role in mental health and limiting beliefs or just other aspects of mental health?
Yeah, so I think the ego is that voice in the back of our head that, tells us maybe you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough, right? And compares you to others. It separates you from others. It is that kind of, you think about the devil and the guardian angel on one side of your shoulder. I look at the ego as that type of mindset. I have to fit in. I have to be like everybody else. And that's not true, because we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And so we're here in this 3-dimensional reality for a reason. We're here to sense this embodiment of being a person with our 5 senses. But what we forget is there's a 6th sense, and there's 12 other dimensions that we can access through our level of consciousness. And that's what I want to teach to the world. Like, I want to talk about this to everybody that'll listen. And just, I just want to fill, the minds and the hearts of people who are seeking inspiration and motivation to know that you can apply universal laws to your life and you can overcome anything. You can do anything. I tell my clients, I can, I will, I am. So, Vijay, I'm going to tell you something. I can be interviewed by Oprah Winfrey. I will be interviewed by Oprah Winfrey. And I am being interviewed by Oprah Winfrey.
That's amazing. So I don't even know if it's true, but I believe it.
Yeah, me too.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's incredible. So earlier you mentioned, or just a little bit ago, you mentioned something about the levels of consciousness. What are those? That's a new topic for me. Completely brand new.
Okay. So everything is energy. So you think of energy, vibration, and frequency. This is getting into quantum physics, which is they're rewriting science textbooks. Like what we learned in school or I learned in school is completely outdated by now. So there has been more breakthroughs in the 21st century from a scientific perspective that is just mind blowing. And I dove down the rabbit hole when I started to be introduced to this way of thinking. So when you think of energy, vibration, frequency, you can actually measure the energetic level of hate or anger or fear, jealousy, envy. And they are on low vibrational spectrum, like around 200 down there. Okay. That is a dense way to feel. It's dense. So your vibrational frequency is low. Now, when you raise your vibrational frequency, when you experience happiness, joy, love, peace, gratitude, those are higher states of energy. Okay. And enlightenment is actually at the very top, which is about 700. Can't remember what it's measured in. It's going to bother me now.
Units.
Anyway. Yeah. So there's a book about this that a famous person wrote about the levels of consciousness. I can't think about it, but there are different levels. So when you raise your vibrational frequency and you raise your level of consciousness to a lighter realm, you can access more. For instance, meditation will take you into a higher level of consciousness where you're able to actually experience gamma rays. Okay. So, like I talked about, theta brainwave frequency is a lower level frequency where you're downloaded. And as you raise, it goes from beta to theta to, delta. I can't think. Goodness gracious. Anyway, the highest level is a gamma ray, and it's from 30 to 100 hertz. And that's when you're able to access more insight, more intelligence, just kind of the infinite intelligence that I think is everywhere omnipresent. We just have to connect to it, and we connect to it through our vibrational frequency.
Okay, so now science is actually coming out with proof that this all exists, not just something that people are blindly following.
Dr. Joe Dispenza, I don't know if you've heard of him. He's amazing. Okay, so he has a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and he is doing studies where he does a meditation retreat for 4 days, and they actually put these electrodes on your brain and they measure your brainwave frequencies throughout the meditation session for 4 days. And they're showing like significant numbers of just kind of improvement in your brainwave frequency. And it's actually helping people heal autoimmune diseases. There's a bunch of other diseases like Dr. Joe Dispenza. He broke his back and he was supposed to have this reconstructive surgery on his spine. And he decided to tap into the power of his mind. And through his own mind and meditation, he healed his spine completely on his own without having the surgery. And so he's made it his mission to teach the world the power of your mind and how you can actually heal your body through your mind and through your state of consciousness.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, what's that book called again?
So Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself is the book I would recommend by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Oh my gosh, that is insane. So when it comes to I guess if you are in a group of, let's say, few people who all think like that, is it possible to heal each other with certain frequencies or vibrations you mentioned?
Yeah, it is called the collective consciousness. And I believe that that is where we're at from a planetary perspective. We're going through an energetic shift from a global planetary perspective. And so science does prove that you can actually affect reality, if you will, or affect the frequency of certain areas just by collective consciousness. So, for instance, let's say they've done studies, and Joe Dispenza documents some of these studies where monks or gurus would meditate and show that the crime rate in a particular city was reduced just from their collective consciousness and heartfelt intention to shift the energy in that particular city. So there's a lot of groups where you can, get with other people, meditate, pray, and really affect good things.
Gosh, that's really interesting. So I started meditating about a year or two ago, so I've started noticing large positive impacts in my life. But how does I guess let's say you go into a room, no one meditates. Could that one person who meditates kind of like have a positive impact, or is it kind of overwhelming with the negative energy and I'm just using meditation as an example, but positive versus negative energies, is it volume amount or kind of concentration or density?
I think it has a lot to do with intention. So your intention is what can shift the energy. So when you realize everything is energy, we exude energy and we take in other people's energy. For instance, I'm an empath, so I can feel other people's energy. Like if I'm around somebody positive, it feels great. If I'm around somebody negative, I could feel it. I can't breathe. I gotta go. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think that there are different polarities of energy. This is a deep scientific conversation, and I can't answer all of it, but I believe that some energies cancel each other out. Some can reinforce the other, whether it's positive or negative. So it's kind of a play with that.
That's great. So I guess shifting this more to a business sense, what can we do when we have employees or coworkers or managers? How do we, I guess, bring out the best energies from other people?
Empower them, listen to them, have empathy towards them. See, I consider myself a conscious leader, and conscious leadership is really empathetic, caring for the employee, showing the employee that they are valued, showing them that you care about what they have to say. Because the employees usually have the solutions. It's just if you're willing to listen to the problems and or solutions. But people respond much better to positive enforcement versus negative, right? I do a ton of business consulting, so I can tell you the biggest weakness of most companies and even relationships, I will say, is communication and accountability. Those two things. So effective communication, a two-way street, right? You don't just tell your employees what they need to do, but you also listen and you have that conversation so that they feel valued, because there's a little magic switch. And when you turn the magic switch on, it's because your employees are empowered and they're ready to rock and roll and do what needs to be done, right? But if they're not empowered, that little magic switch is down. So I think it's really effective communication, and a two-way communication street will help.
Great. Thank you for that. So when it comes to empowerment, is it just like saying, hey, you're doing a great job, or what is empowerment? How do you empower people?
I think that you have to start with, where are we going? Right? So identifying a true north for a group of people so that we're all marching in the same direction, right? So empower them by sharing with them, what is the vision of the company? Where are we going? And how do the employees fit in with that vision, right? How is their daily activities going to impact that true north? And what are the core values of the company, of the employees, and are they aligned, right? So we're all on the same mission to achieve the same goal, and we know how each one of us can contribute to that solution. And then once we do it, celebrate. celebrate. And it doesn't always have to be a payout of money. It can just be a award, your value. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up to work, because most people don't want to show up to work anymore, right? So just congratulate your employees for being there. But, you empower them by sharing with them how their skills and abilities can contribute to the success of the organization, and keep it moving forward. Consistency is huge.
Awesome. Thank you. So, I guess when it comes to empowering and kind of building trust with other people, how important is it to be vulnerable yourself to build trust with others?
100 million% important, I think. That's how I've been able to lead really successful teams, is kind of, I don't put myself on a pedestal. I'm no better than anyone else. No one is here. We're all people, and we can all contribute to solving this problem, right? So be open and honest with your employees, and they will respect you, trust you, share with you, not be afraid to come talk to you when there is a problem. Now, there's other bosses, I'll say, or managers who might try to lead by like fear-based, you got to do this or else. And those people don't respect you or trust you, and they're not going to go the extra mile for you. But when you're vulnerable and you show them, hey, I'm the same as you. Like, I'll give you a for instance. So I was the general manager of a $100 million manufacturing facility. Okay. Most general managers would sit in the office and look at houses in Florida or something. I don't know. But they'd be in the office, right? Not me. I would go out on the shop floor and I would go talk to the operators. I would sit there and with them if the machine was broke down until my team, like the engineering team or the maintenance team, came and looked at it, right? So I'm showing them that I'm no better than them, but I'm supporting you because I know that you're struggling. Another, for instance, I would support shutting the presses down to do a maintenance day. Now, in a large manufacturing facility like this, that's really hard to do. Most people don't like to do preventative maintenance because you're losing production, which means you're losing money. However, you can't run production successfully if you don't shut down to do preventative maintenance. It's like a double-edged sword. So, take the bull by the horn and let's empower our people, shut down the machines, clean it, fix it, let's get it going. Well, I would go out there and I climbed on top of a 15-foot inside liner oven and I was greasing bearings with my maintenance guys. That's how you lead from like conscious leadership, okay? I'm no better. I'm going to come out here and do the dirty work with you because I want you to see that you're valued and what you're doing is important. And that'll move mountains.
That's such powerful advice. I love it. I've seen comics, or not comics, but like animations of this, what a leader is. It's someone who's actually pulling something rather than a boss who's just there kind of whipping their employees,
Yeah.
right? So
No, you gotta
no,
lead consciously.
that's amazing. Let's kind of switch gears a little bit, talk more about, I guess, our physical bodies. And I guess, we talk a lot about spirituality and consciousness, and I think this is really cool. But how does how you sit, or just like how you literally, yeah, something as simple as sitting, how does that impact your consciousness?
Well, the posture of your body and how you breathe will affect your state of being, right? Breath is one of the most important things we have, and we take it for granted and we don't focus on our breathing. I mean, you can learn how to do breath work that calms you in the moment. When you sit up straight, you don't slouch. And you have to remind yourself of those things. It's better for your body to be that way, if you will.
Awesome, Carrie. Thank you so much for that. Switching gears a little bit to what we talked about at the beginning of this conversation. You mentioned you had a book coming out, and I'm so excited for you. Very excited to read it myself. Could you talk a little bit more about the book? I know you didn't give us all 7 of the steps, but just want to hear a little bit more about the book.
Yeah, definitely. So I share my own personal life stories in dealing with the effects of divorce as a child. My parents were divorced, and then I was in an interracial relationship as a teenager. My family disowned me. I was in a 9-year relationship where they disowned me, and my boyfriend cheated on me, broke my heart. So I went through a lot of kind of just tears and just bad stuff as a teenager, which contributed to depression, anxiety, and then I kind of got into drugs and alcohol. as a, young adult until I graduated college. And I talk about my moment of awakening in my book, which was my son's birth. And I've been a single mom since my son was born. He's 15. I've raised him on my own. So I really let down the walls. I kind of, open up my vulnerability, and I share stories with the world that I wouldn't even tell my best friend. And that's why it took me probably 4 years to write this book, because I had to really do some personal transformation myself, to be able to own up to this truth and share it with other people. And I do that because I want other people who are struggling, whether you're in a bad relationship, you've gotten your heart broken, you're thinking about suicide, you're at the bottom of just this dark hole of depression and you feel alone. I want to be a voice or words to have a positive impact on that person's life, to know that you're not alone. Millions of people struggle behind the screen with problems like this. Millions of people feel unloved, unfulfilled, and they're tired of fighting a losing battle, but they might not know what to do. And so that's where the book explains the 7-step system of how you can override the problems or the current conditions, gain the power, connect to your power, which is your inner power, purpose and passion, so that you can change the trajectory of your life, but also have a positive impact on your family, on your friends, your kids. And that just becomes a ripple in the universe of goodness. And I think we need more goodness. I think we need to talk about mental health. I'm actually speaking at an event this evening that is a benefit for mental health awareness. And it's so important because I dealt with it, and I tell some real raw stories. So I hope that in telling my truth, I can open up the doors for other people to kind of share and build a community where we can support and empower one another. Because we've been conditioned. There's governmental, there's macro level and micro level conditioning, from a governmental institutional perspective down to, your parents, caretakers, teachers, siblings, whatever you were told, it has an impact on you. So we're a bunch of children masquerading around as adults sometimes, right? And so we just need to uncover the truth and really get to the root of it all.
I absolutely love that. This is exactly what you were talking about earlier, being genuine, being so open, being vulnerable. And because of that, you're able to create trust among people you don't even know. People are going to read your book, people listening to this. And it's everything you said is so powerful. And I'm really looking forward to reading that book. So thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
sharing that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I guess a little bit more of a personal question. When you were going through all those incredible hardships, what was that light bulb switch, how you were able to turn your life around, or was it a gradual process?
It was the moment I held my son in my arms when he was born. I swear it was instantaneously life-changing. And I can't even put it into words. I think parents may know that when you have a child, you hear it, but you don't realize it until you actually experience it. And the moment they put my son in my arms, it was like, whew, I don't even know how to explain it, but I just had so much more. I had more to think about than just me. It wasn't about me and my pity sad story or whatever else. It was my son, and I have a human being to care for now. I have a human being to raise, and that just, it changed my life. And he is my angel baby. I love that child more than anything on the planet. Um, and I'm blessed. God, I say in my book, God planted the seed in me, and it was my son.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that. If people are going through, I guess, similar experiences like those hardships that you mentioned, if they were not to have a kid, what do you think an actual step they could take is to basically make their life a little bit, I'm not sure if this is the right word, but better?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of things people can do. You can read a book. The best book I was ever recommended to read was called The Power of Intention by Dr. Wayne Dyer. That book changed my life. So there's one step. Two is, you can reach out and get some support from someone, whether it's a friend, a family member, somebody you trust. I'm a life coach. There's a lot of coaches, therapists, counselors out there that are willing to help and talk with you and empower you and kind of teach you the tools that you need to apply in order to kind of get out of these ruts. Remember that the people you surround yourself with is the environment you're going to create, basically. So the 5 people you're around the most will dictate, kind of the environment that you're a part of. Continuous education, exercise helps raise your frequency and release endorphins. And I know it can be such I don't want to go to the gym all the time. I really don't. But when I get there and when I'm done working out, I'm like, yes, I'm so glad I did this because I feel so much better, right? Learning how to breathe effectively, eat right. Your diet has everything to do with how you feel. So there's a ton of different things that you can start, and you don't have to do it all at once. You can do one thing. What's one small thing I can do today that's going to have a more positive impact on my life, and then do it one baby step.
Thanks so much for sharing that. And I guess switching gears more to the entrepreneurship side, because you are an entrepreneur, you started your own business, you're a consultant, you're doing your own thing. What are some habits that you think you took that contributed to your success?
Show up. You got to show up, whether it's to a meeting, a networking event you've scheduled, and you have to show up with the right energy, right? So prepare yourself to be in that right state of mind or state of being so that when you do show up, people notice. Right? You walk into an event, you're smiling, you're happy to see other people. Like, that's how I show up. I enjoy connecting with others. And to be an entrepreneur and be successful, it's all about who you know, who you talk to. It's really all about those connections. But I like to call it conscious connections, because I can't fake it to make it. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm real, honest, straightforward, sometimes to a fault. But when I tell somebody, like, I really care about you, I love you, like, I love what you're doing, I'm being honest. I don't beat around the bush. I'm just honest. And so I think you have to show up and never give up either.
It's amazing. Thank you. So when you're starting up this business, tell me about the support you received or didn't receive from your friends and family.
I guess I've received support from, I'm a lone ranger. I have the lone ranger syndrome, I decided about 3 or 4 years ago. And I think that comes from being a single mother and working my way from being on welfare and having no money to making a 6-figure salary. Like, I did it on my own, but I didn't do it on my own. My mom was there. My mom, thank God for her, because she has helped me with my son, right, when I have to travel for work or do those things. So I'm so grateful for my mother's love and support and for being there for my son. My best friend, Vicky, I call her my spiritual plug. She's my energy plug. So when my energy's low, I go around her and she just helps me get back up to my normal self. My boyfriend has supported me tremendously. And if it wasn't, for those people who, when it gets hard and I'm crying and I'm like, oh God, I can't do this anymore, they help me, right? And so you have to have that community of people who are willing to be there for you, support you, remind you of how much you've accomplished. Because that's another one of my problems. Like, I shoot for the stars, right? And then I do all these things and I'm like, oh, I'm not getting anywhere. But they're like, Carrie, look at all you've accomplished, like the past 2 years. Are you kidding me? And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. All right. So
That's beautiful, having such a strong support. Well, I got one more question to ask you, but you've answered this multiple times throughout this conversation. Out of every book that you've read, what is your favorite book and why? Outside of your own, I know I would also. I'm excited to read yours, but you can't choose your own. You can't choose any of the books you've already mentioned.
I'll give The Power of Intention by Dr. Wayne Dyer. That is the #1 book I would recommend everybody to read. He explains kind of the science behind spirituality from a different perspective that really helped me see and understand that more clearly. Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis was a book I listened to 3 years ago, which really had an impact on me. A Course in Miracles. If you haven't heard of that book, it's kind of almost like a different version of a Bible, but different. A Course in Miracles really explains the difference between ego and spirit, and I think the power of our mind and body and soul. And then the one I'm reading right now is called, it's by Neville Goddard. It's 10 books by a modern master. Highly recommend to anybody. Anything by Neville Goddard. He was an author way back, like 1940s, I think. And he explains consciousness from a perspective that is just so profound.
It's amazing. That's great. I'll put all that in the show notes. Carrie, where can our audience get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can go to my website. It's carrie-schmidt.com. And on Facebook, I'm at Coach Carrie Schmidt. Instagram, I'm at Care Bear Schmidt. It's my nickname, Care Bear.
I love it, Care Bear.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited. And the book is launching June 1st. So you'll be able to go to Amazon and buy Behind the Screen June 1st. And I appreciate every review I get. That's the biggest thing, is give me a review on Amazon, because I want to be a #1 Amazon bestseller.
Oh, you'll definitely get there. Awesome. I'll put all this in the show notes. Carrie, it was an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. I appreciate it.